Recording. All right, guys, welcome back to the Elite Automation or MG YouTube channel, depending on where you're at right now viewing this. But today is Tesla earnings calls, and this is an extremely important day. I actually think this is going to be one of the less monumental days. I think we have some more future things coming up that will be even more important. But first of all, if you haven't ever been to this channel, we talk automation on Elite Automation and everything manufacturing automation and controls, programming, all those types of things. MG is a little bit more about business and investing and things like that. So before the earnings call came out today, I wanted to kind of discuss some of my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in these earnings calls, how important I think they are, and what kind of outlooks that we're going to get. And so as you see in the background, I have my Cybertruck, and we also have Model Y over here as well. So part of buying the Cybertruck and the Model Y was for our testing, so that way I could see how good the FSD is in the Cybertruck and the Model Y. And I'll say, since owning it, I've only owned it for, owned them for maybe like 6 months or so now, and I can say, like, just going from like version 12 to 13, it's definitely significantly better. It's extremely close to being able to just, hit go and take you to where you're going. Really, like, there's a few things that are missing, and this is not an FSD video, so I may not go completely deep into these topics, but there's only a few things missing, and a lot of things are like it missed its turn, or maybe it went straight in a left lane that it shouldn't have, and whereas it may be like illegal or not necessarily, what's the word for it? What do you call that word? You have a good word for me? Not illegal. Manners. What do you call those things? Yeah. Maybe it's not like moral to, like, go straight in the left lane, but it never gets into a condition where I'll say it's in a collision or it's gonna cause some type of wreck. It always does it with like a very safe path. And so, point being is like the autopilot's like taking me from, like, the house to the kids' school, which is like 30 minutes away, and back every single day with almost no interventions, if ever. Going all the way from Evansville, Indiana, which is southern Indiana, all the way to Michigan, all the way to Chicago, all the way over to Cleveland, Ohio, over to Illinois. I'm talking about 8-hour drives and like having very minimal interventions. And again, most of these interventions are things that I just don't like that it's doing, or honestly, some of them are like, I just want to go to that gas station right there, and like it's too slow for me to put in autopilot. So I think they're gonna have to, partner up with Grok or something to really connect the, hey, I want to go there, with the vehicle, so that way you can add stops more quickly, or it's just a little bit cumbersome to like add stop. It's very easy to add stops, don't get me wrong, but like if it's something you want to do right here right now, it's a little bit hard. So as far as FSD goes, I think he's just going to refortify the Robotaxi event, and that they're going to launch in June. I don't know that they're going to give anything new on that. Maybe that they got regulatory approval. I think that they might mention that they have the regulatory approval, but I don't think they're going to give a lot of information. I think they're going to wait till June hits, and I think they're going to kind of have, either some big events based on that, like how successful it is, and I think they have an idea of how successful it's going to be already. I think they've been doing a lot of testing. I think they know how much interventions they have there in that area. And also, too, as far as like an engineering mindset goes, if they're going to focus in one area like Austin, there's a couple reasons for doing that. One, you can look at the geographical data of drivers in that area and say, okay, look, all the engineers that we have that are working on the FSD team, I want you guys to focus 101% on Austin, Texas, and working on any and every bug that you have. If there's a single bug that you run into, then I want you to fix that bug. I want it to be brought to attention for upper management or whoever to make sure that it gets fixed and solved for, right? So I would assume, and if you're driving in Austin, I would really like to see in the comments below how well it's performing there. Actually, I should have drove there and seen how it was driving. It's a really far drive for us. It's like a 15-hour drive, but that would have been really interesting to go drive down there and actually drive in Austin and see if it performs any better, because I guarantee you there's a geofence that says this is Austin, and they've been working out any and every bug that might be there. And some of the bugs might be some just like condition handling, right? Sometimes you have I'll give you a perfect example of one we experienced the other day that it handled really well. But like there was a left turn lane here, and then there was immediately a right turn lane after that. And so the vehicle basically went in the straight lane and then kind of veered over to the left to continue into the straight lane, which is kind of a little bit of a challenging thing to do. And they are probably working through those types of things whenever they're seeing any incidents where the operator or driver intervenes with the vehicle. They're then trying to perform corrective actions to that particular location. Now, I don't know as far as FSD how it works with geography and memory, meaning does it remember the location that it's at? It doesn't seem like it does, and I feel like autopilot could be 10 times better if they literally just remembered where they're at, which means like I've been at this intersection before. I know on this intersection there's a stop sign here, so it should automatically be anticipating a stop sign. Again, it might be there. I just don't feel like it is, just the way that it reacts, and sometimes reacts differently in certain intersections or just certain circumstances. So I think that they're definitely going to focus in on the Austin, Texas, and really, grinding and narrowing that down. And as FSD gets better, they may not need to geofence and work out particular problems. But if they launch there and then they go, they can choose another city. They can choose LA or whatever city it is that they choose, and then start narrowing down any intervention they have in that area. So as a global software, all of autopilot should be improving, because that same weird scenario that autopilot's struggling with, they might have a similar problem in another city, right? So if you fix it in Austin, you're also fixing it in other areas, but you're specifically fixing it in Austin. Make sure there's zero problems in Austin. If they move on to LA, they're going to make sure that there's no problems in LA, and they've solved every single condition in LA. And again, a lot of that stuff will move over to other cities. And again, they might also have to do this geo thing in every city for quite some time. It might take them a couple of years before they can launch to the full United States. At least to a point of having full fleets of robotaxis. Now there was discussion of the vehicle driving from the factory to your home. That's something that may be more accomplishable. Why? Because the volume of vehicles might be less to the total number of vehicles on the road. Meaning, if they have teleoperators for the Robotaxi, and there's any condition where the vehicle gets hung up, a teleoperator can then log in. It can do it on both use cases, but with being able to drive to somebody's home, it's just going to be a lot less volume than total drivers in a day, especially on a Robotaxi network where vehicles are just driving day in and day out, day in and day out. So that's kind of like my predictions with FSD and Robotaxi. They also have the RoboCab, so we'll kind of go to there. So I'm 99.9% confident, just due to the industry that we work in and what we've heard in the industry. Tesla is working on the mass manufacturing line for Robotaxi. They're not waiting for Robotaxi to become completely launched in the entire United States before they start launching the Robotaxi vehicle. Now maybe they start to make the Robotaxi, and then they launch them in Austin, Texas only. But the one prediction I will give is I think they're so confident in the Robotaxi or in the FSD software that they're going to launch the Robotaxi vehicle and manufacture the Robotaxi vehicle due to their confidence. And to the point of they're already installing the manufacturing lines, and all contracts have been awarded for Robotaxi. So it's just a matter of time before they launch Robotaxi and have it ramped up in production. I would say it's not even far off from them actually starting their pilot production. When I say pilot production, I mean past their initial production. They're probably going to be doing their initial production here in 2025 and start working out some of the bugs, and I think they'll be in mass production by 2026. So that's definitely a huge prediction that I think that, or not necessarily a prediction, but an analyzation that, and observation that I see in the market and see in the the workplace, and so yeah, that's a big bet. That's a huge bet, because obviously if they're going to put in that much investment, I mean, you're talking about $100 million lines that they're going to be installing, and for them to install something like that and not feel so confident that FSD will be ready to launch, I just don't think there's any plausibility in it. Again, we're all driving in version 13. It's highly likely that they're working on version 14, and so they already have some major iteration of FSD that we don't even have yet. And I also think if they do have the version 14 and it's in the Robotaxis, they're not going to launch it to general public. There's probably select people, and the people who do have version 14, if they do, it's under NDA that they can't say that they have version 14. Why? Because they don't really want to let the cat out of the bag on like what the next level is. They don't want anybody to talk about version 14 until they have the June launch. So they want the June launch, and they want it to perform so well that that people are just wowed by it and they're amazed by it. So I think that's their strategy. Version 14, I'm like 99% sure it's going to be on the Robotaxi. I think June, whenever they launch it, Austin, Texas, they're going to launch version 14 on the Robotaxis down there. I think shortly after that, mass public will start getting version 14. As far as unsupervised, I don't think unsupervised is going to be like taken off. It'll be supervised for some time, right? We have to go through all the regulatory approval before they'll do the unsupervised FSD. So like that's gonna be the biggest thing. Regulatory approval, and internally they just have to prove it out like 101%, like just making sure that it's performing in all these cities, and then they have to slowly release it city to city, because if they just released unsupervised overnight to the entire country or the entire world, there would be immediately like hundreds of deaths overnight from people just like going to sleep and using their FSD and then wrecking and dying. So they have to release these softwares in this way that that's safe, and they can monitor it. They can have enough engineers being able to look over it, and have enough teller operators to be able to support whenever there's a critical issue where somebody can't or where FSD is not able to perform whatever driving function that it's having an issue with. So yeah, that's where I'm at with FSD and Robotaxi. I think if it's super successful and it performs really well, I think stock price wise, it's going to go to the moon. It might take some more time, I think, because they need to see it probably more successful in other cities. If they launch to a second city, a third city, and it's like, there's no, major issues with like collisions and, basically reports of major injuries and stuff like that. I think the stock price is going to shoot through the roof. And I ran some quick numbers on it, and they're going to basically generate billions of dollars a day off of Robotaxi here in the next couple of years, and that's like minimal numbers. I mean, this is gonna be $1 trillion a year opportunity for them, and this is why Elon's pushing into it so much. And it's all profit too. All their expenses are already being incurred. They're literally paying for the entire FSD and everybody that they're paying for. The only people that might be a new expense is the teller operators. And so again, basically all profit minus teleoperators, and some management that goes along with that, because again, FSD is already being paid for. The engineering team is already being expensed out. So So with that being said, there's it's all profit. It's all profit that the company's now going to be able to dump into Optimus, or going to be able to dump into just Robotaxi being even more sufficient, being able to have more capabilities within the software things. Because there's a lot of stuff that people aren't even really thinking about. Like, let's say for instance, if I want to have the car go pick up my kids from school and bring them back, if I want to have my car go to Home Depot and pick up some boards for me, if I want to have, you know what I mean? So like, there's all these different other opportunities that are there that you could do in the app, and be able to have different types of transportation services that they have to work on the software development side of things. Also with the Cybertruck, you don't have like auto summon and stuff like that yet, so they'll be able to deploy capital into those things as soon as they start making revenue off of it. And they're instantaneously going to start generating revenue off of this. Here in June, they're going to generate revenue. There's no way they're just going to have Robotaxis and have them for free. So immediately, I mean, it might be a minimal amount of revenue, maybe some millions of dollars, but in a day, but it's still going to be a significant amount of revenue that they bring into the company. Now going on to like one of the next big topics that you hear a lot of people talk about, and that is the lower end Tesla model, a Model Q or Model 2. And you know, I really think that Elon is being legitimate whenever he's saying like, what's the purpose of this Model 2 vehicle? And I think the reason for that is because the version of the Model 2 vehicle is going to be basically, instead of you getting a Model 2 or Model Q, you use Robotaxi. Like if you want a lower expense vehicle, use Robotaxi. Why buy a vehicle? Right? Why pay for insurance? Why, you know? And so I think that that's going to be his strategy. He's like, really, in my opinion, and one thing I kind of foresee is once FSD becomes, fully available, once it's unsupervised, I think a couple things are going to happen. Either the vehicle itself, like say for a Model Y, is actually going to increase in price, and if not that, 101%. They're going to change the price of FSD. You know, I think I spent $8,000 for FSD when I bought it for, the lifetime or whatever. It's highly likely that FSD is now going to become $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to buy FSD. Like the only reason why we got FSD at $8,000 is because it wasn't ready yet. We were beginning adopters, and this $8,000 helped pay for the adoption of, or not the adoption, but the development of the Robotaxi or FSD, right? So this $8,000 was really just to help with R&D and push them through. But after they have a successful working product, the value of that product is easily worth $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, right? Why? Because you can make $50,000 a year by putting your vehicle on the fleet. If I can put this vehicle on a fleet, and the Model Y on a fleet, and make $50,000 a year, I mean the Cybertruck pays for itself in 2 years, right? 2.2 years or something like that. The Model Y pays for itself in almost 1 year. The FSD pays for itself, if you're just trying to segregate that out. FSD pays for itself in a few months, right? So as far, and generally, every business opportunity has a profit margin in it, meaning you can expect somewhere between like 40 to 20% depending on the business. And maybe some business margins are way less, 10% profit margins. So if you've seen this in, let's say, Uber. I want to bring this back to like an Uber because this is a perfect segue into this. Is Uber drivers used to make $120,000, $150,000 a year, and they used to make really good money whenever they were first launching Uber. And Tesla will probably follow the same model where the owners of vehicles, they'll allow them to release onto the Robotaxi network, and they will pay extremely good money to have your Robotaxi on their fleet. And then as years pass by, they're going to take more margins out. Either they're going to lower the cost to the customer, or they're going to take more margin from you and keep more margin for themselves. Why? Because this is just how businesses work over time. They're not going to allow for operators of vehicles to keep a 30% margin. Maybe at first we have 30% margins, 40% margins, and I think that's highly plausible. But over time, they're going to adjust the price so that our margins are less, and then secondly, so that the margin is being consumed by the cost of FSD, whether the cost of FSD is $50,000 for FSD, or if you're paying a monthly subscription, and the monthly subscription goes to $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and you're able to, you're still in profit, or you still have a good margin. That if it costs you $1,000 for a subscription of FSD a month, and the vehicle's on the road it makes $2,000 in a month, then you're still at a good margin there. You still made $1,000, plus you have your mortgage, your auto payment, not mortgage, I guess auto loan payment that you have to make. So you're still going to be in good margin. So that's kind of how I see them tackling those things. I don't think they're going to come out with a Model Q or a Model 2. If they do, I think it's going to be a Robotaxi, 2-seater. I think they're going to try to target a weird demographic of like individuals that would, okay, cool, you want this cheap of a vehicle? You can get it, and it comes in a 2-seater option. You can't get nothing else. One, that'll help eliminate issues with it cannibalizing a Model Y or Model 3, because Tesla vehicles are too close to one another. Like the Cybertruck versus the Model Y, there's really not enough differences between like calling this one luxury versus this one not. I mean, this has cool features like, being able to raise the ride height, and, has the rear wheel steering and super fast, but luxury-wise, there's not that much difference. These have cooled seats. This one doesn't. So if they come out with a Model 2, I just don't know how they could. I don't know how they could degrade the vehicle enough so that it's cost-effective for somebody to get the Model Y or the Model 3 over whatever this Model 2 or Model Q would be. I think they might do it. I think they're also still going to wait. I think they're going to see how Robotaxi does. I think if Robotaxi does well, I think they're not going to worry about it. If Robotaxi fails, I think this is their backup. I think they'll come out with the Model Q. I think what will happen is they will basically add a steering wheel to that and foot pedals, and they will then sell the Model Q, Model 2, the Robotaxi, as that lower model vehicle, 2-seater option probably, so that way it doesn't cannibalize any Model 3 or Model Y. They might add like a Ford, or they might add a back row seat. If they do that, it's still going to be a 2-door coupe. I think that would definitely be the approach they take to keep it different enough from the other ones. Like if you want 4 doors, get the Model 3 or get the Model Y. And I think that would also be a very good approach for them. And also, I think might be a plausibility they would launch this vehicle if Robotaxi is not successful. But I think we're talking about 2, 3, 4 years out before they would do that. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in this earnings call, if they're going to mention anything about this. I think Elon's still going to stay firm on not wanting to release any new model, low model, or low price model vehicles. I don't see it. I think he sees Robotaxi as the low cost option. If you need a low cost option for transportation, that's it. You jump in a Robotaxi. Again, they might. And I think also this is one other thing to discuss on is the Robotaxi itself might be sold to individuals like me and you as investors. So maybe I want to buy a few Robotaxis and put them on the fleet. And I think the reason why Tesla would do this is because of capital expense. Because let's say, for instance, it costs Tesla $25,000 or $20,000 to make the vehicle. Let's say they're able to sell it for $25,000. Tesla doesn't want the capital expense. So unless they're going to raise a bunch of money or go pull loans to be able to keep Robotaxis on their fleet, I think they're only going to have the initial test fleet be their vehicles. They might do a combination like the same with leasing and non-leasing, but I don't think they'll take on the capital expense. It's just not in their business model to own the capital expense of a Robotaxi. They wanted to collect their money off of subscriptions from the FSD and from, you know, the premium connectivity and these types of things, or just outright buying FSD as a package. I think they long term would prefer see people have the subscription model, so that way just have that monthly recurring revenue. It's a very, very good business model. It's one of the most successful business models of this generation is subscription business models. That's why Netflix blew up. That's why Amazon's so successful with Amazon Prime. But yeah, so that's kind of my long form version of what I think is going to be happening in this earnings call. As far as numbers, I think sales are going to be down. I think they don't care about that at all. I think they only care about Robotaxi. So this is the company's vision, and you know, as an investor in the company, I'm completely for Robotaxi and also Optimus. I don't know if there'll be any mention on Optimus. I think there might be some updates as far as like small details of December timeframe, or like they're gonna give some far out projection of like where they're at currently and where like by December of 2025, 2026, what kind of things might be plausible there, how many they might produce. I think last time they said like their goal was like 10,000 produced, but realistically they might hit 5,000, but optimistically they're shooting for 10,000. So Optimus is going to be huge. Again, this is why I'm such a firm believer in Tesla. The stock price is overvalued, but I think it's overvalued because of the opportunities that Tesla has right now with Robotaxi and with Optimus. And again, sentiment can go down and the stock price could drop lower than what it is right now. I think it's sitting at like 240 or something like that. But like literally just a few months ago, we were at 420. So the stock's down 50% of what it currently was. You know, to be like extremely good valuation for you to be dumb not to buy it. I think you have to get into like the 200s. You have to get down to like, or you have to get below the 200s, like 180, something like that. I think 180 is for sure a buy all day. Again, I'm not sure how it calculates evaluation-wise, but I just think that's the price that Tesla pretty much will not go under, and also valuation-wise, it's going to be much better valuation at that price target or at that price point. Price target-wise, I think that it's really hard to say with Tesla. It just depends on the optimism of everything, and really once people start seeing success in Robotaxi and start seeing some revenues with that, like this is going to be one of the Amazon moments for the company. It's going to be whenever, if you've invested $10 into the company, you made thousands of dollars off of that. If you invested tens of thousands of dollars, you made hundreds of thousands, millions. So I think that Tesla is one of the best bets in the market. It's one of the riskiest bets in the market as far as like the risk to reward ratio. It's just super risky with one of the highest rewards in the market. So yeah, that's my thoughts on today's earnings calls and what kind of updates I think we're going to get and where I think kind of Tesla's headed from now. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to let me know down in the comments below if there's anything else you'd like to for me to discuss on, any other topics on Tesla, automation, business, any of those things. Again, the Malachi Greb YouTube channel, MG YouTube channel, that's investments and whatnot. The automation, Elite Automation, is basically manufacturing automation, and I do Tesla a little bit on both. I try to do a little bit more engineering things on the FSD side on Tesla, or on Elite Automation, because it's kind of more of an engineering thing, automation thing, and then investment type of things. I try to keep more on the MG YouTube channel side of things, just because that's the investment YouTube channel. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, guys, give it a like and subscribe. Catch you all in the next one.